Chapter 1 The Last Voyage of Sinbad. Sinbad sat by the window of his house. The sun shone brightly over the city. He could see the sea in the distance. The waves moved slowly and gently. He had spent many years sailing across the sea. He remembered all his adventures. He had faced storms, fought with dangerous creatures, and discovered hidden treasures. He had seen islands that no one had ever seen before. He had traveled far and wide, but now he wanted one last adventure. He wanted one final voyage that would be different from all the others. He wanted to sail with courage, wisdom, and joy. He wanted to leave a story for everyone to remember. Sinbad called his friends and sailors. "We are going on a new journey," he said. His voice was calm, but his eyes were full of excitement. "Prepare your things. We will sail tomorrow. This is our last voyage together. Be ready." His friends were happy. They had sailed with him before. They trusted him completely. They respected him. They loved adventures. "We will follow you, Sinbad," they said. "Wherever you go, we will be with you." Sinbad smiled. He felt proud. He felt ready. He knew the sea could be dangerous, but he also knew that careful planning could protect them. Early the next morning, Sinbad walked to the port. The ship was waiting. It was old but strong. The sails were a little torn, but they could carry the wind. The ropes were a little worn, but they were still strong. Sinbad checked every corner of the ship. He counted the ropes. He examined the sails. He looked at the anchor. Everything had to be perfect. "The sea is not always kind," he said. "We must be ready for everything." The sailors worked quickly. They loaded food, water, and supplies. Barrels of water were brought onto the deck. Baskets of bread and fresh fruits were stored carefully. Sinbad inspected the food. He wanted enough for the entire journey. He did not want to waste anything. He wanted to be careful. After packing, Sinbad returned home. His wife was waiting. His children ran to him. They hugged him tightly. They were happy to see him, but they were also worried. "Father, please be careful," said his youngest child. Sinbad smiled. "I will be careful," he said. "I promise to return. Do not worry. I will bring stories and treasures for you." His wife smiled, but tears came to her eyes. She understood the risks of the sea. She knew that storms could appear at any moment. She knew that the sea could be cruel, but she also knew that Sinbad was brave. She trusted him. She loved him. The sun rose high as Sinbad prepared the ship. The sailors climbed aboard. The wind blew from the east. "Raise the sails," Sinbad shouted. The sails moved up with a strong sound. The ship slowly moved forward. The city became smaller behind them. The blue sea opened before them. It was endless. Sinbad stood on the deck. The wind touched his face. He felt the freedom of the sea. He felt alive. He felt excitement and joy. The journey had begun. This was the beginning of the last voyage. The first days at sea were calm. The sun shone warmly. The waves moved gently. The sailors relaxed. They walked on the deck. They laughed and talked. Sinbad sat quietly. He looked at the horizon. He remembered all his past adventures. He remembered the islands he had visited. He remembered the creatures he had seen. He remembered the treasures he had found. "I once saw a whale so big," he said to the sailors. "It could lift a small boat with its tail." The sailors listened carefully. They laughed. They imagined the giant whale moving in the water. Sinbad smiled. He loved sharing his stories. He wanted the sailors to learn. He wanted them to be prepared. At night, the stars shone brightly. The sea was calm and peaceful. Sinbad pointed at the stars. "See these stars?" he said. "Sailors use them as guides. They help us find our way. The sea can be tricky, but the stars are always there." The sailors looked at the sky. They learned from Sinbad. They understood that nature had rules. They understood that patience and observation were important. Sinbad taught them not just how to sail, but how to respect the sea. The sea could give, but it could also take away. After a few days, the calm sea began to change. Clouds appeared in the sky. They were dark and heavy. The wind blew stronger. Waves grew taller. Sailors became worried. "Captain, the sea is changing. one sailor said. Sinbad nodded. He walked along the deck. He checked the ropes. He checked the sails. "Stay calm," he said. "We must be ready. Hold the ropes tightly. Watch each other. Together, we can face any storm." His voice was calm. His eyes were serious. He knew that fear could make mistakes. He knew that courage and calmness were needed. The storm came quickly. Rain poured down. Thunder roared loudly. The wind hit the sails. The waves lifted the ship high and then dropped it into the sea. Sailors shouted in fear. Some were scared to move. Some held ropes tightly. Sinbad held the ropes firmly. He gave clear instructions. "Tie the sails. Hold each other. Do not panic. Stay together." Hours passed. The storm was strong and long, but Sinbad's experience guided them. He moved around the deck, helping each sailor. He encouraged them. He reminded them to breathe and stay calm. Finally, the storm passed. The sea became quiet again. Sailors were tired but safe. They looked at Sinbad with respect. "Thank you, Captain," they said. He smiled. "We are lucky today," he said. After many days, they saw land. The trees were tall. The fruits were colorful. The island looked magical. Sinbad said, "We will explore carefully. Watch everything." The sailors followed him. They walked slowly. Birds sang in the trees. Small animals moved through the forest. It was peaceful. Sinbad reminded the sailors to be careful. Danger could be hidden anywhere. They approached a cave. Smoke came from inside. Sinbad said, "Let us see what is inside. Be ready." Inside the cave, they saw treasures. Gold coins shone in the light. Silver cups reflected the glow. Jewels sparkled in different colors. Sailors were amazed. "Captain, look at this," one said. Sinbad warned, "Take only what you need. Do not be greedy. Greed brings danger. Patience and wisdom are more valuable than treasure." The sailors listened. They took some food and a few coins. They left the rest untouched. Sinbad smiled. He taught an important lesson. Sinbad stayed on the island for a few days. He explored carefully. He observed nature. He watched the birds, the trees, and the waves. He taught the sailors to notice small things. He reminded them that learning was important. He reminded them that patience and respect were important. After a few days, they returned to the ship. The sails were raised again. The wind blew toward the horizon. The Last Voyage of Sinbad continued. Chapter 2. The adventure continues on the sea. Sinbad and his sailors left the first island behind. The ship moved smoothly over the calm blue sea. The wind blew gently, pushing the sails forward. Sinbad stood on the deck watching the horizon. The sky was clear and the sun shone brightly. The sailors were happy to continue their journey. They felt safe because Sinbad was with them. Each morning, the sailors woke early. They cleaned the deck and prepared food. Sinbad taught them how to observe the sea. "Look at the waves," he said. "See how they move. The sea tells us many things. We must pay attention." The sailors listened carefully. They learned how to read the wind. They learned how to watch the clouds. They learned how to notice the color of the water. Every little sign was important for sailors. One afternoon, Sinbad saw something unusual in the distance. "Sailors, look!" he shouted. "Do you see that island?" It was small and strange. The island was covered with thick trees. Smoke came from a small part of the land. Sinbad decided to approach the island carefully. The sailors prepared their ropes and anchors. They moved slowly, observing the waves. The ship passed through calm water near the island. As they got closer, they saw birds flying above the trees. The birds were colorful. Sinbad smiled. "The birds are always our friends," he said. "They tell us where land is. We must respect them." The sailors watched the birds. They learned to see how animals could guide them. The sea was not just water. It was life, full of signs and lessons. The sailors anchored the ship near the island. Sinbad and his men got into small boats. They rowed carefully to the shore. The sand was soft and white. The water was clear. They stepped onto the island slowly. Sinbad told the sailors, "Be careful. We do not know what is here. Watch everything." The sailors nodded. They had learned from past adventures that small islands could hide surprises. Walking into the forest, they noticed the strange fruits on the trees. They were colorful and smelled sweet. Some of the sailors tried the fruits. "Captain, these are delicious," one said. Sinbad tasted one. "Yes, but only a few," he warned. "We must not be greedy. Nature gives us enough if we take carefully." The sailors understood. They learned the importance of patience and respect. Suddenly, they heard a noise. "What was that?" asked a young sailor. Sinbad raised his hand. "Listen," he said. "The forest tells us many things. Every sound has a meaning." They listened carefully. They heard small animals moving through the leaves. They heard the sound of running water. Sinbad smiled. "Nothing dangerous yet," he said, "but always stay alert." They continued walking and found a small stream. The water was fresh and cool. Sinbad and the sailors drank and washed their faces. "Fresh water is important," Sinbad said. "Always take care of it. Drink enough, but do not waste it." The sailors filled their small bottles. They learned that even small things, like water, were valuable on a journey. While exploring the island, they found a cave. Smoke came from the entrance. The sailors were curious but careful. Sinbad said, "We will see what is inside. Stay together and be ready." They entered slowly. Inside the cave, they saw fireflies glowing in the dark. The cave was large. Small animals moved in the shadows. Sinbad reminded the sailors, "Respect life. Do not harm animals. They are part of the world." At the end of the cave, they discovered some old treasures. Gold coins, silver cups, and jewels sparkled in the dim light. The sailors were amazed. "Captain, look at this!" they shouted. Sinbad smiled. "Take only what we need. Do not be greedy. Patience and wisdom are more valuable than treasure." They took some coins for learning purposes and left the rest. Sinbad taught them that true value was knowledge and experience, not just gold or jewels. After leaving the cave, the sailors rested on the beach. Sinbad told them stories about the sea. He spoke about whales, giant birds, and previous adventures. The sailors listened quietly. They repeated some words after him. Whale, giant, treasure, brave. Repetition helped them remember new words. They practiced their English as they listened. Learning and adventure were together. The next morning, they prepared to leave the island. Sinbad checked the small boats. He ensured that no one was missing anything. He smiled at the sunrise. "Today, we continue our journey. The sea is waiting. New adventures are ahead." The sailors felt excitement and fear together. The sea could be calm, but it could also be dangerous. They were ready because they had learned patience and teamwork. As the ship moved away from the island, the wind grew stronger. The waves became taller. Sinbad instructed the sailors, "Hold the ropes, watch the sails, be calm." The sailors worked together. They tied the ropes and adjusted the sails. The ship moved carefully. Sinbad looked at the horizon. He could see dark clouds in the distance. "A storm is coming," he said. "We must be prepared." The storm arrived slowly but strongly. Rain fell. The wind blew fiercely. Waves hit the ship with great force. Sailors shouted in fear. Some held the ropes tightly. Sinbad remained calm. "Do not panic," he shouted. "We are together. We will survive this storm." He guided each sailor. He reminded them to work together. After many hours, the storm calmed. The sailors were wet and tired, but safe. Sinbad smiled. "We have learned again. Calmness and courage are our friends." After the storm, they continued sailing. They saw dolphins jumping beside the ship. Sinbad laughed. "See how they move. They are happy to guide us." The sailors laughed and repeated, "Dolphin, jump, guide, happy." Learning English and enjoying nature were together. They felt joy in small things. Days passed, and they found a new island. This island was different. Trees were tall and green. Flowers bloomed everywhere. Birds of different colors sang. Sinbad told the sailors to explore carefully. "Every island has lessons. Observe and learn," he said. The sailors walked slowly. They watched animals and plants. They learned the importance of respect for nature. On this island, they found a small village. The people were friendly. They offered food and water. Sinbad and the sailors thanked them. The villagers showed them their homes and customs. Sinbad taught the sailors to listen and learn. Every culture has wisdom, he said. We must respect it. The sailors helped the villagers repair boats. They learned teamwork and kindness. The days on the island passed quickly. Sinbad reminded the sailors, adventure is not just about treasure. It is about learning, respect, and courage. The sailors understood. They felt joy in simple things: clean water, friendly people, colorful birds, and the warm sun. After a week, Sinbad and his sailors prepared to leave. They thanked the villagers. They sailed again. The wind blew gently. The sea was calm. The horizon was endless. Sinbad looked at his sailors. Remember, every day teaches us lessons. Courage, patience, teamwork, and respect are treasures. The sailors nodded. They had learned much. Chapter 3: The Sea's Challenges and the Hidden Dangers. Sinbad and his sailors sailed away from the friendly island. The wind blew steadily, and the ship moved smoothly over the deep blue sea. The sun shone brightly, and the sky was clear. The sailors worked together. Some climbed the masts to check the sails. Others prepared food and cleaned the deck. Sinbad watched carefully. He smiled. He enjoyed seeing the sailors learning and helping each other. Every morning, Sinbad gathered the sailors. He taught them how to observe the waves and the wind. The sea talks to us, he said. We must listen. Calmness helps us see clearly. Courage helps us act correctly. The sailors nodded. They remembered the storm they had faced before. They remembered the lessons of patience and teamwork. They repeated Sinbad's words aloud. Calm, courage. After a few days, the sky changed. Dark clouds appeared in the distance. The wind grew stronger. The waves rose higher and higher. Sailors became worried. Captain, the storm is coming, one sailor shouted. Sinbad raised his hand. Stay calm. We will face it together. Prepare the ropes. Watch the sails. Stay close to each other, he said. His voice was calm and strong. He knew that fear could make mistakes. He also knew that courage and preparation were important. The storm arrived. Rain poured down in heavy sheets. Thunder roared in the sky. Lightning flashed across the clouds. The wind blew fiercely. Waves crashed over the ship. The sailors shouted and held the ropes tightly. Some were scared. Some were wet and cold. Sinbad moved quickly. He tied the ropes, adjusted the sails, and guided the sailors. Do not panic. Together we are safe. Hold the ropes. Watch the sails, he shouted repeatedly. Hours passed. The storm was strong, but Sinbad's experience helped. He moved calmly among the sailors. He encouraged them. He reminded them to breathe and stay calm. Finally, the storm ended. The sea became peaceful again. The sailors were tired, but safe. The next morning, the sun rose slowly. The sea was calm and bright. Dolphins jumped beside the ship. Sailors laughed and pointed. Sinbad smiled. See them? The sea gives us joy too, he said. They repeated the words aloud. Dolphin, jump, happy. The sailors felt relief. They had survived the storm. They had learned that calmness and courage could save them. As the ship sailed further, Sinbad noticed something strange in the water. A large shadow moved beneath the surface. The sailors were curious but nervous. Captain, what is that? They asked. Sinbad looked carefully. It is a sea creature. It could be dangerous. Watch carefully, but do not panic, he said. The sailors held the ropes and prepared for action. Suddenly, a huge creature appeared. Its eyes were big, and its mouth was wide. The sailors shouted in fear. Captain, it is attacking the ship. Sinbad remained calm. He took a long spear. He shouted instructions to the sailors. Hold the ropes. Move together. We will defend the ship. The creature hit the ship with its tail. Water splashed over the deck. Sailors slipped but held on. Sinbad threw the spear carefully. It hit the creature. The creature struggled and then swam away. The sailors cheered. Sinbad smiled. Courage and calmness help in danger, he said. After the creature left, the sailors cleaned the deck. They removed water and fixed broken ropes. Sinbad reminded them, every challenge teaches a lesson. We must work together, respect the sea, respect life. The sailors nodded. They remembered all they had learned. They repeated the words aloud. Work together, respect, courage, calm. Days passed and the ship moved steadily. The sailors grew more confident. They practiced skills that Sinbad taught them. They tied ropes, climbed masts, observed the stars, and learned to read the clouds. Sinbad encouraged them to explore the ship and learn. He said, every day at sea is a lesson. Observe everything. Learn. One night, the sky was clear. Stars shone brightly. Sinbad called the sailors to the deck. See the stars? He said. They are guides. Sailors have used them for centuries. They show direction. They teach patience. They remind us of the vast world. The sailors watched and repeated the words, stars, guide, direction, patience, world. They learned English, and they learned about the sea. A few days later, the sailors spotted a new island. It was surrounded by fog. The waves moved slowly near the shore. Sinbad prepared the sailors carefully. We will explore carefully. Fog hides dangers. Stay together. Watch for everything, he said. They anchored the ship and went to the island in small boats. The island was strange and beautiful. Trees were tall, and flowers bloomed in bright colors. Birds of many colors sang in the morning light. Sinbad reminded the sailors, respect nature, watch animals, observe plants, learn everything. The sailors explored slowly. They saw small animals, unusual fruits, and running streams. They tasted small fruits carefully. Sinbad taught them not to take too much. Patience and respect were important. While exploring, the sailors found a cave. Smoke came from inside. Sinbad warned, we must be careful. Stay together. Observe everything. They entered the cave slowly. Inside, fireflies glowed in the dark. Small animals moved quietly. The cave was mysterious. Sinbad taught the sailors to respect all life. He said, even small creatures are important. Never harm them. At the end of the cave, they discovered treasures. Gold coins, silver cups, and jewels sparkled. Sailors were amazed. Captain, look at this, they said. Sinbad smiled. Take only what is needed. Greed brings danger. Patience and wisdom are true treasures. They followed his advice. They took only small amounts and left the rest untouched. After leaving the cave, Sinbad taught the sailors lessons. Adventure is not just about treasure. Adventure is about learning, courage, patience, and respect. Remember these words. The sailors repeated aloud. Adventure, learning, patience. Repetition helped them remember. English learning and adventure went together. As they returned to the ship, the sun set. The sky was painted orange and pink. The waves reflected the colors. Sinbad smiled. He felt happy. He felt proud of his sailors. He knew they had learned many lessons. They had faced storms, dangerous creatures, and unknown islands. They had grown braver. They had learned teamwork. The night passed quietly. The sailors slept. Sinbad stayed on the deck, watching the stars. He reflected on the journey. The sea gives and the sea takes. We must be brave and calm. We must respect life. Patience and wisdom are our treasures. The gentle waves moved the ship slowly. The last voyage of Sinbad continued.